All right, welcome to Just a Painter, and today I have crew leader Cody Cummings with us. Welcome, Cody.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on with us. We've got some questions to ask you, and I'm excited to just kind of learn more about you and your journey. So tell us a little bit about, first question I have here is, tell us a little bit about how you got into painting. How did that happen?
It was years ago. My mom had remarried a man that had a successful paint company, and he asked me if I wanted to paint. At the very beginning, I said yeah, because I looked at it like monkeys can finger paint, you know?
Right.
Then I got involved. Once I actually got my head into the game, I learned that there's not an end to the learning process of painting. It's ongoing. It doesn't stop. Yeah. And that's one thing that I enjoy the most about
So it sounds
painting.
like you had a really good kind of mentor
Yes,
early on.
for sure.
That got you going in
For
the right
sure. I feel
direction.
like I'm only as good as my teachers, you know, so I give all the credit to them.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's awesome. And so that was years ago. We're not going to put a number to it. You're what, like 29 now? So
Yeah.
Something like
Going
that.
on 30.
Going
There you
on
go.
30. So actually, that is my next question. How many years have you been in the paint? We'll just call it a long time. What is your favorite thing to paint? Right. So
You know, whenever I really think about that question, if I was to sum it up into one, I would almost say cabinets. And why? Because it's such a challenge. It's the most challenging, I think,
why? Why do you find it challenging?
because there's so many little mishaps that could happen. You have spits, you have sags, you have runs, you have
The
so
potential of all of
very of that happening, and that's something you learn through the process of spraying that comes years into your advancement. You know,
Right.
so yeah, I guess it's the challenge behind cabinets and having the glass finish.
Yeah.
When you can see yourself in the cabinets, there's not a better feeling.
Yeah.
You know, of knowing that you did that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I get satisfaction out of cabinets or spraying trim.
So this is kind of, I love the thought of putting a craftsmanship back into what we do today, because so many people, they don't see it like that. That craftsmanship conversation really is kind of old school conversation. I think of the guys from This Old House. I think about, the guys that just really take their time and process. And sometimes we're really driven by production, go, 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 go. And sometimes it just requires to slow down and stuff like that. So, being able to see yourself, like a mirror,
For sure.
kind of like what some of the stuff that Zach Kinney does with ZK painting,
Yeah.
that stuff is incredible. So,
For sure.
how many kitchen cabinet projects do you think you've been able to lead, roughly?
Oh, at least I would say I've done over 100
Oh, wow.
sets of cabinets.
Yeah.
So they're tricky, you know, and they can be challenging, like I said. But they are my favorite thing because they are challenging.
Yeah.
to
So
me.
cabinet products, paint products that you've used, what would tell
Pro
me
Classic.
Pro Classic.
And back home in Texas,
Yep.
we ran oil because it's legal
Yep.
to spray oil there. So a big thing back home is a finished oil product.
Yep.
And Pro Classic is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You know.
So obviously you're not going to brush that on the trim or
No.
on the cabinets, but you have brushed Pro Classic. It's directional, right?
It is, but you can add like a penetrol
Penetrol. Yeah.
to your oil, and
Yep.
it will actually lay it down to where you don't see brush streaks.
Right.
And we're supposed to help.
Yeah.
So, and it does. It helps out a lot.
Yeah. So have you had any success? I think the Pro Classic has a waterborne product.
They do, but
Have you had success with it?
I prefer the oil if I can.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an oil guy.
Yeah.
So I prefer that. Or I know y'all like to use Kim Aqua, right?
That has been a
You know,
product. Yeah.
and that's a good product too.
Yeah.
You know, the way it lays down.
Yeah, with our cabinets, we're getting ready to start utilizing the Sherwin-Williams Gallery Series. So I'm excited to see that. We've tested it a couple times, and it's just finally coming to the market where we can actually get more of it. And so we're actually started today with a kitchen cabinet project where we're going to be using the Gallery Series. So I'm excited to see it, the sheen. I think that they call it they grade it 10, 20, and 30 degrees on the sheen, and that 20 degrees is more of what is a satin finish, which is what I see a lot of manufacturers using, and that kind of stuff. So
awesome.
That's fun. And I remember before pre-2008, when Indiana could still do, oil-based paints, we did, Porter Paints had what was called Gliptex, and it was a great oil-based product. I loved it. It just sprayed silky smooth, and I remember, I've had painted my previous home I lived in the oil base, and there was this one spot on a handrail where I would go to the basement, and I would grab the casing and go to the basement. And every time I grab that, I just think to myself, "Dang, that feels good,
doesn't it?"
It is like
it's an awesome finish.
And oil is just unfortunately we can't have it in the state of Indiana.
Exactly.
So, very cool. So, let's get back to our questions here. What things do you like to get out when you're okay? This is the question. What things do you like to geek out on when you talk about paint? So we talked about oil.
Yeah, I would say sheens.
Sheens.
Yeah, I like the sheen difference. Just getting to know your sheens.
Yep.
And what they do and how they act.
Yep.
Knowing how to cut it in, what's going to hat band, what's not going to hat band.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's good.
So just knowing your sheens. I mean, you can sit there and talk about sheens all day.
I love sheens.
How the colors contrast each other, and how I've had customers whenever I'm painting the home, I could paint a living room and a dining room in the living area all one color, but just because there's a shadow casting, this wall might look different.
Yep.
And they will think that it's an accent wall or something going on when really you pull the blinds up and it's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how sheens can play a role with lighting as well.
Last week I had Emily King in your chair, our color consultant, and we talked a little bit about that and how colors, when they come to a corner and you have the sun blasting on them, two different colors coming to a corner, and you look at it and you're like, that's the same color, but it's not.
Exactly.
And I do love the conversation around sheen. So what's your favorite sheen?
My favorite finish, I would say the look wise, I would say satin.
Okay.
That's my favorite finish.
Okay, so now here's another thing. Let's just keep geeking out about this. So every family of paint, such as PPG or Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore, have different levels of product. Most clients don't understand this, right? Some people just say, well, the other estimator or the other painting company gave me Sherwin-Williams. Okay, that's great. Is it what product inside of the family of Sherwin-Williams is it? Is it Promar 400 or is it Emerald?
Emerald, right.
Because that makes a huge difference in your cost. You might be spending $15 a gallon, $12 a gallon, or $75 a gallon, and there's a reason right there why our quote might be more or whatever. So you got to compare apples to apples, right? But every product in every family of paint has a different sheen, right? So Emerald has a flat, then it has a matte, then it has a satin, semi-gloss, and I think gloss, right? So something along those lines. We like to use a lot of the matte finish around here. So then on the PPG side, the Prominence and the Ultralast, their sheens, their satin finish, I think in the Ultralast, we did this, Caleb.
Is eggshell, right?
It is almost like a semi-gloss.
Is it?
It's super shiny.
Okay.
And it's just kind of like, if I didn't know. And that's one thing that with our color consultant, Emily, is that she, in the off season, she wants to get a drawdown of every sheen from every product from every family. So then when she's talking to the client, and she can show them, well, this is kind of what the sheen's going to look like, right? And they have the little swatch that's, 1 inch by 1 inch, and that's almost laughable, but it kind of helps. So Ian wants to talk to you.
Oh, he'll have to wait
He's going to have to wait.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Ian just briefly. We won't talk about Ian, but we'll just talk about recently you've been able to be engaged and kind of step up your leadership game and stuff like that. Let's talk about leadership for just a minute. what is your style of leadership? There's different styles of leadership.
I call it a servant leader mentality.
Love it.
I try to lead by example.
Yeah.
Especially in painting, just because there's so much to learn. So that's how I like to try to teach, is be the guy that's doing the hardest part. Whatever's the hardest part on the job, I want to be the one doing it. I wish I could be doing it all, to be honest with you.
Sure.
But that's how I like to lead.
Yeah.
I like to show them and lead by example.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. And if you're not sweating, then why would you expect them to not be sweating?
I don't like to bark orders.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be done, but at the same time, they know that I'm going to be the one working the hardest, if anything.
Yeah. And I'm sure, if you have that servant leadership, which is true to our core values of humility, is such a key part, as we have them on the wall here, for an ideal team player. And you're being that example to those guys that are coming out of the academy, and you're showing them. And then our hope and belief is, if we do that, I can say some names with this. Daniel, our tech, who's now a senior tech, was trained by Troy Zook, who we had in our very first podcast. And Troy is that servant leader. He's a great example of that, and works hard, and he's taught Daniel. Daniel came to us with a lot of great attributes already, but he's watching you now be that servant leader and is learning a ton. And so I really appreciate that. So your leadership style is servant leadership. And,
for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Why are you at Heritage Custom Painting?
I believe that you guys were God sent, honestly. We had some prayer before I ever picked up the phone call or picked up the phone to make a phone call. Y'all were the first company I called. And I think it was prayers answered, to be honest. I couldn't ask for a better company. You guys are upstanding guys. I can't say anything bad about this company at all. You guys stick your neck out for us. Y'all go above and beyond. Y'all treat us like family, and y'all make us feel welcome. So, that's my answer to that.
Yesterday we were kind of kicking around in text message with you and some of the other guys, and I was asking guys, okay, who's started the 401k? Raise your hand, and this and that. So we're gonna start that 401k soon.
Good deal. Good deal.
Get you on that. So I think you're close to being able to do that.
I think
soon. So, what one word, it doesn't have to be a one word, but what advice would you give to a young person who's considering coming into the trades or coming into paint? As you look back and you think about you starting or even in the middle, because there have been times when you're like, oh my goodness, why am I in this trade?
For sure.
And so what are a couple words of advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about a trade, and then maybe more specifically painting?
Patience.
Okay. I love that.
Patience and focus. Those are the main two things you need.
Because it takes time to build a skill.
It takes a lot of time. And it takes a lot of patience, because you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
It looks easy, but then it's almost like, I relate a lot of things to sports because I grew up playing sports, baseball, football, and I just relate a lot of it to that, it's painting is it's wonderful, man. Like I said, it just goes on and on and on with the learning.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I say a lot of times that it's a skill that will continue to give to you
for
the rest
sure,
of your life.
100%.
And it gives in different ways, right? So let's talk about that. Let's go. So patience, I love that. So any of you that are listening, if anybody's thinking about being in the trade, it takes time. And I would say I've watched young people who've come into the trade really become, if they have a drive to learn, we're looking at 3 to 4 years. If you're physically capable and able, you can learn a ton in a 3 to 4 year window of time.
Oh, for sure.
And And at that point, if you're able to do a fine finish, on cabinets or whatever, I mean, you can be making, good, really solid money.
And you're doing amazing if you're able to do a fine finishing cabinets in 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You learned very, very well.
Yeah. And you've had a good teacher.
For sure.
So you should probably give some of your
paycheck
to your teacher.
For sure. And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
I give all the credit to my teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys that I came up underneath, man, they're slick.
Yeah.
And every little aspect that I've learned throughout the years, I try to put the feathers in my pocket. Put the feather in my hat, and you take it with you, because it only makes you better.
Yeah.
Because it's like I tell the guys coming up underneath me, when you learn how to paint, it's one thing to learn how to paint. Then it's one thing to learn how to paint and be fast. Then it's one thing to learn how to paint, be fast, and be clean. And then once you're clean, keep it off of you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because when a customer sees a clean painter, they know the job's going to be clean. Yeah. When you come to the job looking crazy, more likely they're going to be picking you apart.
Yeah. I've heard you, and completely appropriate, like get in on somebody in regards to like, hey, you got too much caulk on your pants.
Right? Oh yeah, I call them waterproof.
And what the 3 tools, waterproof.
The waterproof pants. They waterproofed them.
Right. The 3 tools that we require on every technician at any given time. It's like a rag, and that rag's mainly for the caulking at times or whatever. A 5-in-1, and then your utility knife, and so that's those are those things that help with that. Okay.
And another thing that might even help out too, not a bad idea to have on you, is a dust brush.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just for when you're sanding, you're taping off stuff. Your rag's cool, but a dust brush is quick.
Yeah. And as I was getting to the end of my time in the field, I actually ended up making an apron. I have it in the office, but an apron where I would have all of those things, and then it just was kind of my carry around bucket or toolbox there. So, so you have a project, and I want to ask, what is your favorite element about the projects? So is it actually the painting? Is it the client? Is it
all of it?
Yeah.
It's the whole thing.
The whole experience.
Because I enjoy painting. Yeah. I enjoy the satisfaction that I give customers, and I like building. It's not just a workplace to me. It's more than that.
Right.
It's building a relationship with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something I enjoy.
Yeah.
It's not just, hey, I'm just here to paint your house and see you later.
Yeah.
No. There's so much more to it, So I like establishing like conversation, and getting to know them, let them know me, because we're not just there to paint. Yeah. And that's something that I enjoy doing. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And that key thing there, you said the key word that I want to key in is the relationships, right? That's our core value of relationships, and relationships matter. And so your relationship to the crew members, your relationship to the client, obviously your relationship to the paint,
for sure,
and how you treat it and how you don't slop it around or whatever, you do it in the right way. So I love that. And a lot of guys might say, and that none of these answers would be wrong, but somebody might say, I just love when the client's face lights up.
Oh yeah,
you finally see it, which is part of it.
For sure, the satisfaction of the customer, or when they see you doing something and they're just in awe because they're like, "Wow, how'd you cut that so straight?" Or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So yeah,
you finished a project yesterday, I believe. I won't say her full name, but Mary. We'll call her Mary, and she was texting me this morning, and I think we got a 5-star Google review coming from her, so she's pretty excited for that. And how many, since you become a crew leader, do you know how many 5-star Google reviews you've gotten, roughly? I mean, you've been a crew leader now for about 2 months.
At least 10.
About a month, about 10.
Or more.
So that's incredible. That's awesome. While you're painting, when you're not painting, you're doing life, what are something that you dream about?
I know there's no pun intended, but to be sitting where you are.
Okay. Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
An owner. To be a successful business owner in the paint field. Yeah. That would be a dream of mine. Sure. Honestly. Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. And that's something I admire about you guys. Sure. That's another reason I'm here. Yeah. Because I admire a lot of the way you guys work, the way you all carry yourself,
Yep.
Your hands on, you know. So yeah, that's definitely a dream of mine is to be successful in the owner.
And you know, I was owner for a long time. I by myself, single owner, you know, sole proprietor. Started the business I started painting in middle school, as many people have heard my story, and in and out of the ministry at different times, and then went full force from 02 to 05, shut it all down, went to work for a custom home builder, and then from 09 started Heritage, right? So that's when I started Heritage, and then in 2019 merged with Jason Finney. Two are better than one. So the Bible says two are better than one. Yeah. And I was just sharing with Caleb that three are better than two. And a strand of three, so you have the power of people together, working together kind of in partnership at a level. None of this is done by me, right? By myself. First of all, I can't even hardly wake up without the help of the Lord. Right. Second of all, you know, we can't do what we do at Heritage without our painters, our just a technician who's just a helper, and all the way to our salespeople, to our project managers, to the Krista who answers the phone. There is a team, Caleb, who's on the back end with the Google and SEO and all of those things. There's a team that make this whole machine run. And so as you think about ownership, you know, you think, I won't be there. It's a great thing. It's a great thing, but it's got to be. I think the most powerful part of that for me is not me by myself. Me by myself is a very. It's just, it only goes so far.
For sure.
And it honestly is not as enjoyable. So when I do it with others, and even a partner, a business partner,
for sure.
You know, we were just chit chatting about different things and up in the office, and there's the joy that comes when it's like you have somebody to talk about things with, good and challenging things, right? And so there's a joy to that, and then you can sit down and kind of work through that. So that's exciting. And you have been an owner before,
yes,
of a company. How many years were you owner of a company?
Altogether, 7, almost 7.
7 years.
Almost 7.
Wow.
It was 3 years, and then COVID happened.
Okay.
And then I started it back up.
Okay.
So, I mean, it kind of juggled its way, you know.
So you have quite a bit of experience that way.
Yeah.
And,
but I also did often on different things throughout. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because wintertime it gets slow, you know, and I was by myself. So, but still, I was out doing my thing.
Yeah. So, and when you have a smaller company, you can kind of jump in and out as jobs are needing you.
For sure.
You can work the weekend, or you can work after hours if you're working a second gig or something along those lines. So that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming in. It's fun to talk paint. Obviously, nobody's just a painter. At times, as we say here, we're owners, we're color consultants, we're fathers and sons and leaders, and we've talked a lot about leadership today. And one of the things I really appreciate about you is that you don't hide your leadership. You want to raise your level and rise to the occasion and be a leader, and you can see it oozes on you, and that's really fun to see that. And so I appreciate you doing that here at Heritage, and we'll just keep growing together and doing that. So,
sounds good.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
All right. Thank you.